From the outside, it looks like 50 Cent just wakes up every morning and chooses to troll Diddy for entertainment.
I asked 50 about that. I asked him to take him shopping.
He told me to take me shopping. I looked at him like, what'd you just say?
Yeah, I thought he needed some clothes.
He doesn't even know what he's saying is like fruity. What? I'm a nice guy.
Oh, that's a nice gesture.
Let me get out. No, dude, you take me. That's what a guy says to a girl. You know he loves me.
I don't think he like it.
You know he loves me.
I don't think he like it.
Okay.
Can't stop. Won't stop.
Well, if you do some like a little fluffy stuff.
But when you follow the timeline, this isn't random hate. This is a 20-year investigation that started with industry disrespect, grew into moral disgust, and exploded when Diddy's world crashed into the mother of 50's child. Today I'm breaking down how what looked like petty beef became the most personal takedown in hip-hop history. The long game. Most people think 50 Cent's obsession with Diddy is just comedy content for social media. Random memes, petty jokes, internet trolling for engagement. But that's only seeing the surface. When you trace this beef back to its roots, you realize 50 has been building a case against Sean Combs for over 2 decades. Every joke, every diss, every public comment has been another piece of evidence in a story that 50 saw coming long before anyone else. This isn't random hate. This is what happens when someone's instincts about a person get proven right in the most spectacular way possible. And now, with Diddy facing federal charges and 50 producing a documentary about his downfall, we're watching the final chapter of the longest character assassination in hip-hop history. This is the story of how 50 Cent turned suspicion into a 20-year investigation, and how that investigation eventually consumed the mother of his child. Chapter 1. The First Cracks. Seeing Through the Shine. Back in the early 2000s, 50 Cent and Diddy weren't enemies. They moved in the same New York circles, did industry business together, and for a minute, it looked like just another power connection in hip-hop. But even early on, 50 never bought into Diddy's shiny suit mogul image. You could hear it in interviews and casual comments, jokes about not wanting to dance like Diddy, little digs about the flashy parties and over-the-top lifestyle. To most people, Diddy represented success, the entrepreneur, the mogul, the guy who turned hip-hop into big business. But to 50, something felt off. He saw Puff as more of a mascot than a real artist or street guy. That's crucial to understand because 50 respects power, but he doesn't respect what he sees as fake power. And from day one, Diddy's whole presentation struck him as performance rather than authenticity. The seed was planted. 50 thought Diddy was a fraud, and every interaction from that point forward would be filtered through that lens. Chapter 2. Business Wars, the Mace situation. As 50's career exploded, the tension quietly grew around industry politics and business moves. One of the key early conflicts centered around Mace, Bad Boy's former golden child who wanted out of his deal. 50 publicly talked about trying to buy Mace out of his situation, and the frustration that Diddy wouldn't just let a grown man walk away from a contract. In 50's mind, this was classic Diddy behavior, playing gatekeeper with another man's career, holding the keys to someone's freedom instead of letting them move on when they wanted to. This wasn't just business to 50, it was a character issue. He started seeing a pattern of Diddy controlling people's lives, controlling their money, controlling their careers, always finding a way to profit off other people's talent and ambition. Every blocked move, every contract dispute, every story about artists feeling trapped at Bad Boy became more evidence in 50's growing case against Diddy's character. Chapter 3. The Bomb. Crossing the Moral Line. Things escalated dramatically in the mid-2000s when 50 dropped The Bomb, a track that took their beef beyond business and into the darkest territory in hip-hop history. On that record, 50 implied that Diddy knew more about the notorious B.I.G.'s murder than he was telling the public. He suggested that Puff wasn't being completely honest about what happened that night in Los Angeles. This wasn't regular rap trolling or competitive shots. This was accusing a man of being morally compromised around the biggest tragedy in hip-hop history. Think about how serious that allegation is. You're basically saying that Diddy had information about his best friend's murder and wasn't sharing it with authorities or the public. That's not business beef, that's questioning someone's soul. From that point on, 50's energy toward Diddy transformed. It wasn't just competitive anymore. It sounded like genuine disgust, like he believed he was dealing with someone fundamentally evil. Chapter 4. The fake artist narrative solidifies. Throughout the 2000s, 50's criticism of Diddy became more systematic and public. In interviews, he would say straight up, "Diddy's not really an artist, he just writes checks." To someone like 50, who prides himself on authenticity and street credibility, that's the ultimate disrespect. He was painting Puff as the guy who profits, poses, and parties, while other people take the real risks and do the heavy creative.
My favorite hero. I have a lot of guys that I look up to their accomplishments at point, but I wouldn't call them my heroes.
Right. You don't wear another man's jersey on your back.
Yeah.
Respect. Your favorite villain?
My favorite villain? I kind of like Diddy.
He was painting Puff as the guy who profits, poses, and parties, while other people take the real risks and do the heavy creative lifting. The guy who shows up to the video shoot but didn't write the verses. The guy whose name is on the album but who didn't actually make the music. And if you look at Diddy's career objectively, 50 had some points. Puff's biggest hits were largely sung by other people, whether it was Mace, Faith Evans, 112, The Lox, or later artists like Cassie. On his own albums, Diddy would typically contribute ad-libs, maybe a verse here or there, but the heavy lifting was always done by other voices. Even on I'll Be Missing You, arguably Puff's biggest song ever, Diddy is basically doing spoken word verses while Faith Evans handles the entire emotional core of the track. The beat is a sample of the Police's Every Breath You Take, so the question becomes, what exactly did Puff contribute to that record besides his presence and his pain? 50 would hammer this point relentlessly. Name a classic Diddy verse. Name a moment where Puff actually out-rapped somebody. Name a song where you remember his bars more than his budget. The narrative became clear. Diddy represents everything 50 hates about the music business. The fake boss who exploits real talent. The industry politician who gets rich off other people's blood, sweat, and tears. The guy who understands branding better than he understands bars. Every time 50 repeated this message, he was programming his audience to see Diddy as a parasite rather than a pioneer. And that audience was listening. Younger fans who didn't grow up on Bad Boy's golden era started questioning Puff's legend. Wait, is Diddy actually nice or is he just rich? Became a genuine debate in hip-hop circles. And here's what made it effective. 50 wasn't completely wrong. Diddy is more mogul than rapper, more businessman than artist. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Someone has to build the infrastructure that allows artists to thrive. But in a culture that values keeping it real above everything else, 50 knew exactly how to weaponize that distinction. He would compare Diddy to himself, to Jay-Z, to Dr. Dre, other moguls who actually had artistic credibility before they became business figures. We proved we could really do this first, then we built empires. Puff just went straight to the empire part and acted like he earned it the same way. Whether that's fair or not is debatable, but what's not debatable is how effective 50 was at spreading that narrative. He fundamentally changed how a significant portion of the culture viewed Diddy's contributions to hip-hop, turning what should have been a celebrated legacy into something that felt hollow and performative. Chapter 5. The Weird Parties, Trusting His Instincts. But 50's disgust went beyond just business practices and artistic authenticity. He consistently hinted that Diddy's lifestyle and private parties felt wrong to him on a gut level, like there was something happening behind closed doors that people weren't talking about publicly. He told stories in various interviews about getting invited to Diddy's events, being offered shopping trips and private access, and how the whole vibe made him uncomfortable. Not uncomfortable like a poor kid at a rich party. 50 was rich himself by this point. Uncomfortable like someone whose street instincts were telling him to stay away from a situation that felt dangerous or compromised. 50 would say things like, "I don't do those kind of parties. I don't need to be around that energy." When pressed on what that energy meant, he'd usually laugh it off or change the subject, but the implication was always there. Diddy's private world was weird, secretive, and potentially crossing lines that 50 wanted no part of. There were specific stories that became legendary in hip-hop circles. 50 talked about Diddy allegedly trying to take him shopping, offering to buy him clothes and accessories, and how that felt strange and controlling to him.
I asked 50 about that. I asked him to take him shopping.
He told me to take me shopping. I looked at him like, what'd you just say?
Yeah, I thought he needed some clothes.
He doesn't even know what he's saying is like fruity. What? I'm a nice guy.
Oh, that's a nice gesture.
Let me get out. No, dude, you take me. That's what a guy says to a girl.
You know he loves me.
I don't think he like it.
You know he loves me.
I don't think he like it.
Okay.
Can't stop. Won't stop.
What if you do some like a little fluffy stuff?
Why would another grown man want to dress you? What's the power dynamic being established there? To 50, it felt less like generosity and more like grooming, making people dependent on you, indebted to you, controlled by you. He also talked about the exclusivity of Diddy's private gatherings, not the big publicity events where everyone showed up for business reasons, but the intimate parties where only certain people were invited and phones were supposedly not allowed. 50's take was always, if you have to lock the phones up, what are you doing that you don't want recorded? In hindsight, this is the most important part of the whole story. While other people were getting seduced by the glamour, the access, and the lifestyle,
Did he do it?
50 was reading the room
I know.
differently.
You've been heavy on social media talking about it.
And I'm the only one who's been vocal about this long before it actually. But I also didn't participate. I also didn't go to those parties.
Yeah.
So a lot of the celebrity culture that you don't hear saying anything is because they participated.
Was there a reason you never went to those parties back in the day?
I'm just not with all that 50 shit. Like all of the stuff that he's doing, I'm not into that type of stuff. I'm just a little more, maybe you could say basic or normal.
In hindsight, this is the most important part of the whole story. While other people were getting seduced by the glamour, the access, and the lifestyle, 50 was reading the room differently. His intuition, developed through years of actual street survival, was telling him something that his industry colleagues weren't picking up on. Think about how many famous people did go to those parties over the years. How many rappers, actors, athletes, and business people wanted access to Diddy's world and saw it as a status symbol to be included. Leonardo DiCaprio, Jay-Z, various Kardashians, everybody wanted to be at a Diddy party at some point. But 50 deliberately stayed away, and more importantly, he talked about staying away. He made it part of his public brand that he wasn't down with whatever was happening in those circles. He would joke about it, but under the jokes was a serious message. I don't trust that man, I don't trust his energy, and I'm not putting myself in a position where he has any leverage over me. He sensed that Diddy's private world was weird, secretive, and potentially dangerous, so he kept his distance and kept watching from the outside, like a detective gathering information, but never getting too close to get caught up in whatever was actually happening. Those instincts would prove to be crucial years later when the allegations started surfacing and 50 could point back to his early warnings. Everyone else would be shocked. 50 would just be vindicated. Chapter 6. Cassie and the Avalanche. Vindication begins. Fast forward to November 2023. Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend and former artist, files a federal lawsuit accusing him of years of abuse, rape, sex trafficking, and sadistic control over every aspect of her life. The lawsuit describes a nightmare relationship where Diddy allegedly beat her, forced her into sexual situations with male prostitutes while he watched and recorded, plied her with drugs, and terrorized her into silence for over a decade. The detail in that lawsuit was shocking. We're talking about allegations of Diddy blowing up Kid Cudi's car because Cassie briefly dated him. Claims of forced sexual scenarios called freak-offs, where Cassie would be coerced into performing sexual acts with hired male workers while Diddy filmed and masturbated. Descriptions of physical beatings so severe that Cassie had to hide in hotel rooms until the bruises faded. Stories of complete isolation and control, where her entire life was monitored, manipulated, and weaponized against her. To the public, this was absolutely shocking news. Diddy had presented himself as a loving partner to Cassie for years. Their relationship seemed glamorous from the outside, the powerful mogul and his beautiful girlfriend traveling the world, attending events, living the dream. Nobody saw this coming publicly. The lawsuit was filed on a Thursday. By Friday, TMZ reported that Diddy had settled the case for an undisclosed amount. One day. That's how quickly Puff wanted that lawsuit to disappear. No public trial, no discovery process where more evidence would come out, no witnesses testifying under oath. Just a check, reportedly in the 8-figure range, to make it all go away. But even the quick settlement couldn't stop what came next. The settlement couldn't unsee the allegations, it couldn't unhear the descriptions, and it couldn't stop other women from coming forward. Even after that quick settlement, more women started filing their own lawsuits with similar allegations. Different names, different years, but similar patterns: control, abuse, coercion, trafficking, drugging. The perfect mogul image that Diddy spent decades building starts cracking in real time, and every new lawsuit added another crack to the foundation. To 50 Cent, this was confirmation of everything he'd been hinting at for 20 years. All those jokes about the weird parties? Vindicated. All those comments about not trusting Diddy's energy? Vindicated. All those years of calling Puff fake and predatory? Vindicated in the most horrifying way possible. He immediately leaned all the way in. Within hours of Cassie's lawsuit becoming public, 50 was on Instagram posting memes and jokes. While other celebrities were staying quiet or posting vague messages about prayers for everyone involved, 50 was posting pictures with captions like, "I knew this was coming," and "Told y'all about this dude." When the settlement was announced, 50 posted, "He settled because he's guilty as hell." No ambiguity, no benefit of the doubt, just straight accusation. And thousands of his followers ate it up, because at this point, 50 had built 2 decades of credibility on calling Diddy out. Online, he started cracking jokes, posting memes, and talking about wanting to buy Diddy's assets when they went up for sale. Screenshots of houses, cars, business interests. 50 was literally shopping for Diddy's property while the man's life was falling apart. "I'm buying."
50 came up here and he was giving you flack for the asking Fab the parties. They said you were sounding real suspect on the interview.
Yeah. I was coming off of being in Miami a night of party, and I don't really remember what I was saying. You know what I'm saying?
Would you like a reminder?
Yeah, sure.
I like when you like this, Daddy.
Where you put my bag?
Daddy, I like when you scrambling and scraping for shit.
That was you.
Scrambling.
What? You said, "I like when you do it like that, Daddy. When you scrambling and scraping for shit."
Hey, man. I don't even think of no other man. Besides, if I'm thinking about another man, I'm thinking about uplifting. I want you to party with me for your birthday, man.
We partied for my birthday before. You came to my party.
No, but me and you ain't never really party, you know what I'm saying?
I asked 50 about that. He said you did the same thing to him. You asked him to take him shopping.
Yeah, I thought he needed some clothes.
Online, he started cracking jokes, posting memes, and talking about wanting to buy Diddy's assets when they went up for sale. Screenshots of houses, cars, business interests. 50 was literally shopping for Diddy's property while the man's life was falling apart. "I'm buying Revolt," he'd post, referencing Diddy's media company. "How much for the Ciroc deal?" What looked like pure comedy was actually layered psychology. It was vindication, schadenfreude, business opportunism, and content creation all wrapped together. 50 was essentially saying, "I told you so," while making money off the drama and positioning himself to literally profit from Diddy's downfall. Every new lawsuit, every new allegation, every new piece of damaging information became content for 50's Instagram. He treated Diddy's legal nightmare like a reality show he was live tweeting, except he'd been warning about this episode for 2 decades. The message was clear. "I've been telling y'all this man isn't who you think he is for 20 years. I stayed away from those parties for a reason. I didn't trust his energy for a reason. And now you're all finally seeing what I saw." Chapter 7. Federal Raids. The "I told you" moment. Then, in March 2024, things got dramatically more serious in a way that nobody could have predicted. Federal agents, specifically Homeland Security investigations, simultaneously raided Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami. Not local police, not a warrant for a specific item. The full force of federal law enforcement descending on multiple properties simultaneously in what clearly signaled a massive investigation. The country watched footage of mansions being swarmed, agents in tactical gear carrying boxes of evidence, helicopters overhead, and properties searched from top to bottom in a sex trafficking investigation. This wasn't civil lawsuits anymore. This wasn't he said, she said. This was the federal government treating Sean Combs like a criminal organization. Videos leaked of the raid showed the sheer scale of the operation. Dozens of agents, multiple locations, hours of searching. The kind of operation you only see when the government has serious evidence and is building a major case. This was the same agency that takes down cartels and trafficking rings, and now they were investigating Diddy. For 50, this was the single greatest day of his adult life when it came to his beef with Diddy. This was the moment he'd been waiting for his entire career. Not civil lawsuits that could be settled, not allegations that could be denied, but federal agents with warrants, evidence bags, and the full weight of the US government saying, "We think you're a criminal." He posted about it constantly, to the point where it dominated his Instagram for weeks. Photos of the raid footage with captions like, "Oh, they got him now," memes about federal sentences, jokes about Diddy running. Every single development got the 50 Cent treatment, mocked, dissected, and used for content. He even posted screenshots of news articles about the raid with crying, laughing emojis, as if this was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. While other people in the industry were posting vague statements about letting the legal process play out or withholding judgment, 50 was doing victory laps like his team just won the championship. He laughed at every development, from the raid itself to the reports about what agents allegedly found, to the speculation about charges. He treated it like a live episode of a show he'd been narrating for 2 decades. Every post was essentially, "Remember when I said he was weird? Remember when I said something was off? Well, the FBI agrees with me now." Underneath the jokes was a clear message. "I've been telling y'all this man isn't who you think he is for 20 years, and now the FBI agrees with me." At this point, the hate wasn't just personal anymore. It was also principle and branding. 50 was positioning himself as the anti-Diddy, the one who saw through the shine, who never joined the parties, who never trusted the mogul image, who stayed real while everyone else got seduced by fake glamour. This became part of 50's brand identity. He wasn't just a rapper or businessman anymore. He was the guy who called out Diddy before it was cool, the one who trusted his instincts when everyone else was fooled, the one who valued authenticity enough to alienate powerful people rather than compromise. And in hip-hop culture, being right about someone being fake is worth more than almost anything else. 50 was building a legacy around having better instincts and stronger principles than everyone else who looked the other way or got caught up in Diddy's world. Chapter 8. Daphne Joy. When business becomes family. But here's where the story stops being just industry beef and becomes deeply, personally destructive in 50's own life. Daphne Joy is 50's ex-girlfriend and the mother of his youngest son, Sire Jackson, who was born in 2012.
That's why I don't be going to them puffy parties. They can hug you from the front and the back at the same time. What the fuck you talking about? Look, if you're into that, I'm fine with it. To each his own. I'm just saying this ain't my motherfucking kind of party. Like, it's uncomfortable. I think I belong in the girls' bathroom. And shit like that is going on.
Joy is 50's ex-girlfriend and the mother of his youngest son, Sire Jackson, who was born in 2012. For years, the relationship stayed mostly private, just normal co-parenting situations, the occasional social media posts, typical celebrity ex dynamics. They weren't together anymore, but they weren't at war either, just two people raising a child separately. Daphne was a model and actress, known for her appearances in various music videos and movies. She had her own career, her own life, her own circle. The relationship with 50 had been high profile when they were together, but after they split, things calmed down significantly. They had joint custody of Sire, and by all public appearances, they were managing it reasonably well. But then, sometime around 2022 to 2023, pictures and rumors started surfacing that connected Daphne to Diddy's circle. She was seen at his events, photographed at parties associated with his world, and the internet started building narratives about their relationship. Were they dating? Was she just in his friend group? Was she part of the larger scene that was now under federal investigation? The exact nature of their relationship was never entirely clear from the outside, but what was clear was that Daphne had some level of connection to Diddy's world at exactly the time when that world was coming under the most intense scrutiny in its history. For someone as petty, proud, and protective as 50 Cent, that represented a line being crossed that went way beyond hip-hop politics. The man he'd never trusted, the man he'd been accusing of being dangerous and fake for 2 decades, the man who was now being investigated by federal agents for sex trafficking, that man was now somehow connected to the mother of his child. Even without the public drama that would come later, you can imagine how that felt to 50 personally. All his instincts about Diddy, all his warnings about staying away from that world, all his years of keeping distance between himself and those parties, and now someone from his own family was potentially getting pulled into it. Think about what that does to someone like 50. His whole identity is built on being smarter than everyone else, seeing through the BS, protecting himself and his people from snakes and predators. And now the mother of his son, someone he has to co-parent with, someone whose life directly affects his child's life, might be entangled with the exact person he's been warning people about for 20 years. It wasn't just about ego or beef anymore. This was about his child potentially being near something 50 believed was genuinely dangerous. Whether you think 50's concerns were justified or paranoid, you have to understand how activating that would be for someone with his psychology and protective instincts. Chapter 9. The Lil Rod Lawsuit. Daphne's name in the paperwork. Then, in February 2024, came the bombshell that changed absolutely everything and turned this from industry drama into personal warfare. Rodney Lil Rod Jones, a music producer who worked with Diddy on his most recent album, filed a massive federal lawsuit against Sean Combs. The lawsuit was extensive, detailed, and absolutely explosive in its allegations. We're talking about claims of a criminal enterprise, systematic abuse, sexual assault, drugging, weapons, and a whole hidden world of darkness behind the mogul image. But the part that made 50 Cent's blood boil wasn't just the general allegations against Diddy. It was the specific section where the lawsuit named several women who allegedly worked as sex workers in Diddy's operation. Women who were reportedly paid to engage in sexual acts with Diddy and others. Women who were used in the infamous freak-off sessions. Women whose participation was allegedly coerced or compensated as part of a larger trafficking operation. And there, in black and white in a federal court document, was Daphne Joy's name. The lawsuit identified her as one of the individuals who allegedly received monthly payments as a sex worker in Diddy's operation. The filing included specific language describing her role in the alleged financial arrangements. Her name appeared in the same document alongside allegations of sex trafficking, racketeering, sexual assault, and federal crimes. The specific allegations painted a picture of Diddy running an organized system where women were paid monthly stipends to be available for sexual purposes, to participate in the freak-off sessions that multiple lawsuits had described, and to essentially function as part of his private sexual network. And according to Lil Rod's lawsuit, Daphne was one of those women. Daphne immediately denied the allegations in the strongest possible terms, calling them false, defamatory, and damaging to her reputation. She posted on social media that the claims were completely untrue and that she was considering legal action against anyone spreading these accusations. Now, every time 50 Cent diss someone or troll someone, they start to remind him of his baby mama and Diddy.
We got something cooking.
Hey man, y'all know I'm here for it.
Y'all already know I was finna pop back up for this.
When they throw the battle rap signal in the sky, I appear like Batman.
When it's smoke season, black appears.
I'm here for it. The drama.
We got a battle. They took it to wax.
Y'all know I'm here for the lyrical combat, the lyrical warfare, huh?
Let's rap about it, Christmas special.
50 Cent was causing trouble, saying a few things.
So y'all know 50 Cent called the Let's Rap About It podcast some squatters after they had comments about documentaries.
He called the landlord, found out they owed rent.
Yep, okay.
And then said they're squatters.
He said, you bros is broke.
Y'all broke. Y'all in the building. Y'all can't afford to be there.
Them boys over at Let's Rap About It eventually did a freestyle.
They all rap over 50 Cent beats.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth. And I'm gonna tell it.
On the back down beat.
Yeah. Let's rap about it.
G-Unit. It's easy to see when you look at me.
It's easy to see when you look at me.
If you look closely, 50 don't back down.
If you look closely, 50 don't back down.
If I'm 50, I'm taking all the money.
Senior citizens.
Ain't no age to be a fly. Senior citizens.
The older generations coming back and reclaiming. I'm gonna keep it real because they're keeping hip hop exciting.
Shout out to everybody else but Fab, bro. On that podcast, you are in a league of your own, man. But let's listen what he had to say right here.
I'm a top shotter who drop dollars and pop collars. You ain't talking about top dollar, do not holler.
Okay.
Niggas can't move it.
Real quick head count. How many of y'all, anytime like you need to spell out Fabulous name, how many of y'all still say Fabolous? I'm the only one? No, I ain't the only one. Stop lying.
Dollars and pop collars. You ain't talking about top dollar, do not holler. Niggas can't move us, but nah, we not squatters.
And if, they can't move us,
but nah, we not squatters.
Pah, first shot.
Those direct shots at fifth because he said they were squatting.
Yo, Curtis, come here. Pah, hold that.
Get it toe to head from bottom to top's Prada. The window shoppers ain't really gon' cop nada.
Window shoppers ain't really gon' cop nada.
Window shoppers ain't really gon' cop nada.
Nada, use a window shopper.
Shorty, use a window shopper.
Use a window shopper.
Nigga, use a window shopper.
Mad at me.
I think I know why.
Man, use a window shopper. Mad at me. I think I know why.
He using you as a scheme.
I know he ain't paying homage to him though.
I'm gonna use your beat, then I'm gonna use your songs as a scheme. Just show you I can do it nicer than you.
My dog told me give him the word and shots follow. I let him off the leash like Nino's Rockwaller. You know I got power, your shorty.
So if you guys don't represent what he's talking about, them window shoppers ain't really gonna cop nada. That's a reference to 50 Cent acting like he was gonna purchase them niggas podcast space. But 50 Cent having a song window shopper, it's a perfect bar, bro.
You know I got power, your shorty got hot shower. Catch her trying to leave like Tasha shot Lala.
You know I got power. Your shorty got hot shower?
Obviously 50 Cent has a TV show called Power.
You know I got power, your girl got hot showered.
Fat, hold on. I get it. You know, we going back and forth in the booth. Are you?
We talking about Daphne, we talking about 50, and you talking about Diddy.
Are you implying that his woman was peed on?
Yeah, 50 might want to see about that one.
At the end of the day, 50 is petty.
Ain't no way, nah, bro. Chill out.
Even if you were just kicking a clever bar, which I think you're smarter than that, you know how 50 gonna take that.
His baby mother was caught up in the revealing of all the freaky shit. They documented details of how Diddy was doing her, and part of that was a warm shower. Yeah, not that kind of warm shower, the golden one.
The bitch not Mala and nigga you not Allah. Y'all both meet the creator, his first name not Tyler. The blick like a magic stick.
Not Allah. Y'all both meet the creator. Allah, God, you're not God. Stop playing God. Don't play God. Fab knows what he's talking about.
Tyler, the blick like a magic stick. Yo, top walla. Roof going, Dre and Snoop in a drop collar. Screaming.
I'm sorry.
The blick like a magic stick. Yo, top walla.
Yo, top disappear 50 Cent. I got the magic stick.
I got the magic stick. Surely if I can hit once, I can hit twice, and I give you magic.
I got the magic stick. I know if I can hit once, I can hit twice.
Oh, he's stomping on him. Oh, he's stomping.
Bro, stop.
How the fuck you niggas got brolic but not solid, and me trying to pull cars like we don't got wallets? Like how do niggas not in the jungle?
Got brolic, but you not solid. You can't keep it solid. Versus you getting all swole, you getting all brolic in the gym 50, but you still can't keep it solid. What's up with that?
How the fuck you niggas got brolic but not solid, and me trying to pull cars like we don't got wallets? Like how do
That's one of the hardest bars. That's one of the hardest bars. Niggas trying to pull cards like we ain't got Wallace, nigga. What the fuck you talking about, bro?
Talk to Wallace. How is these grown ass men acting childish? How is these bum ass niggas speaking with stylists when I was so
Fucking Fab, bro. Fucking Fab, dog. Fucking Fab, bro.
How is these bum ass niggas speaking with stylists when I was so fly and made my bitch a stylist?
Hey.
They can't stop us from.
Fifth, this is officially the bait track. This is the. Are we in for a 2026 feud between these brothers?
They can't stop us from scoring. They gotta foul us. Can't stop us from scoring.
They can't stop us from scoring. They gotta foul us.
Fab is nice. Nice.
Hey, Fab, where you been, bro?
They said, "Hey, yo, Fab, go ahead, go give him the blick, run him down, walk him down." They had Fab walk him down, respectfully.
We met at a pop gala. I call her the top scholar. She come and drop knowledge like she from a top college.
Fire ass verse.
So we got something good out of this back and forth, because I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't gonna cover none of that shit again.
This shot had nothing to do. I'm sorry, we nitpicking, but damn it. Ooh, this fabulous? That's what made so many of us fans. Why the hell is it a payphone in this verse?
Fab gonna keep it with the bars and messy sales in 2025. So I don't want to see Fab come out here and get embarrassed, because literally it doesn't matter what Fab does on wax lyrically. I mean, pretty much all everybody give a fuck about is the messy petty shit, and 50 is the king of that. Unless, you know, Fab can pull a whole K-Dot and show us some shit that we don't know we got.
Now, like the thing, the troll game 50 gonna pull on you is crazy.
Oh yeah, just end it with that. That's how you eat this. That was fire. Oh, the shorty line. Woo!
In battle rap terms or music terms, it's 50 Cent on the clock.
That was not that crazy. I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. That was not that crazy. I don't know what people are doing.
Is this enough to get 50 out?
That feels like this is what I can do. I'm gonna dance a little bit. I'm gonna dance, and let's put the ball in your court. Let's see if you pick it up and you want to play and maybe take a shot.
You know, the best rappers, when they focus, when they got something to aim their sights on and lock in and just snipe some shit down, boy, that shit fun, man. I love rap. I love rap and focus rap, you feel me?
Her denial was clear, public, and emphatic, but the damage was done publicly. Her name was now permanently linked to federal accusations against Diddy. Whether the allegations were true or false, they were now part of the public record, searchable online, associated with her identity forever. Court documents don't just disappear, and the internet certainly doesn't forget. For 50, this was pure dynamite. This wasn't just him disliking Diddy's parties from a distance anymore. This wasn't just industry beef or competitive hatred. Now the mother of his child was literally written into a federal lawsuit about trafficking, abuse, and sexual exploitation. Her name was in the same document as allegations that describe exactly the kind of dark, predatory world that 50 had been warning about for years. He immediately weaponized this information in the most 50 Cent way possible. Within hours of the lawsuit becoming public, he was posting about it on Instagram, calling Daphne derogatory names, questioning her parenting, and folding her situation into his ongoing campaign against Diddy. He called her a sex worker directly in posts. He made jokes about her being paid to do freak-offs. He suggested that she wasn't fit to have custody of their son because of her alleged involvement with Diddy's operation. Every post was designed to humiliate her publicly while also validating his own narrative about Diddy being dangerous. The posts were brutal. 50 wasn't holding back or being subtle. He was using the full force of his massive social media following, millions of people, to publicly shame and attack the mother of his child based on allegations in a lawsuit that hadn't been proven in court. Whether you think his reaction was justified concern for his child or cruel exploitation of unproven allegations, one thing was undeniable: the beef had officially moved into his household. This wasn't about hip-hop anymore. This wasn't about business deals or artistic credibility. This was about his family, his child, and his ability to control the narrative around who his son was being raised by. Chapter 10: Custody Wars and Public Accusations. Once Daphne's name got tied into the Lil Rod lawsuit, 50 made a major move that showed just how seriously he was taking this situation. He filed for sole custody of their son, Sire, attempting to legally remove the child from Daphne's care entirely. The custody filing was strategic and brutal. 50's legal team cited the allegations in the federal lawsuit as evidence that Daphne was involved in activities that made her an unfit parent. They argued that a child shouldn't be in the care of someone whose name appeared in court documents alleging sex work and trafficking connections. Whether proven or not, the accusations alone were being used as ammunition in a custody battle. From 50's perspective, this wasn't petty or vindictive, this was protecting his child. He didn't want his son anywhere near anything connected to Diddy or the alleged lifestyle described in those court documents. This wasn't internet trolling anymore. This was lawyers, family court judges, child protective services, and life-changing legal decisions. 50 made public statements framing his custody fight as a moral imperative. He positioned himself as the responsible parent trying to protect his son from a dangerous situation while Daphne had allegedly gotten herself involved with the wrong people. Classic 50 Cent narrative control. Make himself the hero and his opponent the villain. But Daphne fought back in the most nuclear way possible, using the only weapon that could potentially equal 50's public platform and financial resources. She went public with her own serious allegations. In April 2024, Daphne posted detailed accusations on social media, claiming that 50 Cent had raped her and physically abused her during their relationship. She described specific incidents of sexual assault, physical violence, and threatening behavior. She said she had stayed silent for years out of fear of retaliation, but was now speaking out because he was trying to take her child away. These weren't vague insinuations, these were explicit, detailed allegations of sexual violence. She described scenarios, timelines, and specific acts of assault. She framed 50 as an abuser who was now weaponizing the legal system to punish her for speaking out against his friend's enemy, Diddy. The accusations hit social media like a bomb. Here was the mother of 50's child publicly calling him a rapist and abuser, throwing the heaviest possible allegations at him in the middle of their custody battle.
Okay, so 50 Cent set the internet on fire after he dropped hints that Daphne Joy, the mother of his son, could be the Jane Doe in Diddy's freak-off case. In a now-deleted post, 50 put up a picture of Daphne Joy and Jane Doe testifying at court side by side and asked the question, who is Jane
Throwing
Doe?
the heaviest possible allegations at him in the middle of their custody battle. If proven, these claims could destroy 50's reputation, his business deals, and potentially even result in criminal charges. 50 completely denied the accusations in the strongest terms possible. He called them lies, false allegations designed to manipulate the court and public opinion. He treated them as a strategic retaliation meant to hurt his reputation and help her case in family court. His legal team immediately threatened defamation lawsuits. The whole situation became an incredibly messy public battle where both sides were making serious allegations against each other. Was Daphne a sex worker connected to a trafficking operation? Or was she a victim of 50's abuse trying to protect her child? Was 50's a protective father trying to keep his son safe? Or was he an abuser using the court system to punish and control his ex? The truth likely existed somewhere in the complexity that public social media wars can never fully capture. 50 eventually filed a formal defamation lawsuit against Daphne, demanding money and a public retraction of her abuse allegations. The suit claimed that her accusations were provably false, made with actual malice, and designed to damage his reputation and business interests. He wanted millions in damages and a court order forcing her to admit she lied. But then, after months of legal maneuvering, 50 dropped the defamation case. The exact reasons were never made entirely public, whether it was a settlement agreement, strategic litigation decisions, or recognition that a drawn-out public court battle would hurt everyone involved, especially their son. Although he eventually dropped the defamation case, their relationship was completely destroyed, turned into a toxic mess of allegations, lawsuits, and public warfare. And the thing that connected all of it, the thing that turned co-parenting into mutual destruction, Diddy's world was at the center of it all. The custody case continued separately from the defamation suit, with both parents fighting over Sire's future. but the damage to their ability to co-parent peacefully was irreparable. What should have been a private family matter had exploded into public spectacle, with both of their reputations damaged and their child caught in the middle. And 50 would never forget that it all connected back to Diddy. In his mind, if Daphne had never gotten involved with Puff's circle, if her name had never appeared in that lawsuit, none of this destruction would have happened. The custody battle, the public accusations, the destroyed relationship, all of it traced back to the same man 50 had been warning people about for 20 years. Chapter 11, Diddy's Indictment and 50's Documentary. As Diddy's legal situation continued deteriorating through 2024, multiple lawsuits turning into federal investigations, investigations turning into an indictment, and Diddy ultimately being arrested and denied bail, 50 remained the most consistent, loudest, and most gleeful voice commenting on every single development. When Diddy was formally indicted in September 2024 on charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation for prostitution, 50 posted within minutes. When Diddy was denied bail and held in federal detention, 50 posted memes. When additional evidence was leaked to the press, when new witnesses came forward, when Diddy's legal team made motions, every single update got the 50 Cent commentary treatment. But then he made his biggest power move, the one that showed this wasn't just trolling or entertainment anymore. He announced a multi-episode documentary series about Diddy's downfall, with 50 Cent serving as executive producer alongside director Alexandria Stapleton. The documentary was pitched to Netflix in a deal reportedly worth millions. The official framing was about giving victims a voice, exposing systemic abuse in the music industry, and holding powerful people accountable. 50 positioned himself as someone doing important work, using his platform to shed light on dark truths that the industry had ignored for too long. But everyone knew what it really was, the ultimate victory lap. The chance for 50 to control the entire narrative about Diddy's life, to put his own commentary and perspective on every piece of the story, to make sure that when people thought about Sean Combs' legacy, they would think about it through 50 Cent's lens. Think about that full circle. The same guy who started with throwaway jokes about dancing in shiny suits 20 years ago is now the one producing the definitive documentary about your darkest secrets and federal crimes. That's not just petty revenge. That's hate, patience, and business strategy all wrapped together into the ultimate victory lap.
The Reckoning, premiering Tuesday. How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figured most journalists would not disclose their sources.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day. Perhaps. Combs' team firing back in a statement to NBC News, saying the Netflix so-called documentary is a shameful hit piece and that they relied on stolen footage that was never authorized for release. His team sending a cease and desist to Netflix.
The documentary titled Diddy Do It promises to include interviews with victims, investigators, industry insiders, and anyone willing to speak on the record about Diddy's alleged behavior. It will cover the bad boy years, the parties, the allegations, the lawsuits, the raids, the arrest, and presumably the eventual trial and conviction. And 50 gets to executive produce every frame, guide every narrative choice, approve every edit. He gets to decide which allegations get highlighted, which witnesses get the most screen time, which music plays during which scenes. He controls how history remembers Sean Combs. Some victims have spoken positively about 50's involvement, saying they're glad someone with his platform is willing to tell their stories when others in the industry stayed silent. Others have questioned whether 50's motivations are really about justice or just about personal vindication and profit. But 50's doesn't particularly care about those criticisms. In his mind, he earned this victory. He spent 20 years being called a hater, 20 years being told he was just jealous or petty, 20 years watching Diddy get celebrated while he tried to warn people. And now he gets to say, "I told you so," in the most permanent, profitable, and public way imaginable. Chapter 12. What 20 years of hate looks like. So when people ask, why does 50 Cent hate Diddy so much? You can trace it step by step through 2 decades of escalation, with each phase building on the last until it became something bigger than either of them probably imagined at the start. It started with disrespect. 50 never saw Diddy as a real artist or authentic street figure. This was the foundation, the original sin that colored everything else. From day one, 50 looked at Puff and saw someone playing a role rather than living a reality. That judgment never changed, it only deepened. It grew through business conflicts, blocked moves, contract games, watching Mace and other artists get trapped in deals while Diddy profited. Every story of exploitation confirmed 50's belief that Diddy was a predator in mogul clothing. The Mace situation particularly crystallized this, showing 50 that Diddy's family rhetoric was just marketing for a fundamentally extractive operation. It deepened with moral accusations, implications about Biggie's murder, suspicions about weird parties, and the belief that Diddy's private world was darker than people realized. The bomb crossed a line that changed the entire nature of their conflict from competitive to existential. Once you accuse someone of hiding information about a murder, you can't walk it back to normal beef. It became systematic through public narratives, spending years programming audiences to see Diddy as fake, exploitative, and undeserving of his legacy. The "He's Not a Real Artist" campaign was deliberate reputation destruction that actually worked, fundamentally changing how younger generations viewed Puff's place in hip-hop history. It seemed vindicated through early allegations. When Cassie and other women started speaking out, 50's instincts about the parties and lifestyle appeared to be proven right. Every lawsuit, every new accuser, every horrifying detail confirmed what 50 said he sensed all along. It escalated through federal action, raids, investigations, and indictments, giving governmental weight to accusations 50 had been making informally for years. The FBI essentially validated his 2-decade character assessment, turning him from internet troll to prophet. And it became permanent and personal when Diddy's world crashed into 50's family. Daphne's name in federal lawsuits, a custody war over his son, and public accusations flying in both directions. This took it from industry beef to family destruction, from something 50 could laugh about to something that genuinely affected his child's life and his own reputation. By the time Diddy ended up in federal custody, 50 wasn't just some random internet troll or jealous competitor. He was a man who felt vindicated after decades of warning people, and he was going to turn that vindication into content, money, and non-stop humiliation for as long as people were willing to watch. The documentary deal alone proves that 50's long game paid off. He didn't just win the beef, he turned the beef into a business opportunity worth millions. He gets paid to talk about how right he was. That's the ultimate victory in capitalism-driven hip-hop culture.
50 Cent, after your first album with Diamond, no one around you thought it'd be a good idea to renegotiate that horrendous contract you was in? Who got worse, man? Who got worse?
$50 Cent didn't just stumble into hating Diddy because of some random slight or competitive jealousy. He built a case against him piece by piece, year by year, album cycle by album cycle, until the federal government essentially validated everything he'd been saying since the early 2000s. The consistency is what's most remarkable. Most beefs in hip-hop burn out or evolve. People make peace, or they get bored, or they focus on other targets. But 50 never let this go. Never softened his position, never gave Diddy the benefit of the doubt, even when it might have been strategically smart to do so. And now, with Diddy facing potentially decades in federal prison, and 50 controlling the narrative through his documentary, we're watching the completion of the longest character assassination in hip-hop history. Whether you call it justice, vindication, or just prolonged pettiness, it's undeniably comprehensive. The scariest part for everyone else in the industry? 50's instincts were right from the beginning. While everyone else was getting dazzled by the parties, the success, and the mogul image, while people were taking Diddy's money and accepting his invitations and building their careers through his connections, 50 was seeing something else entirely. He saw someone who was fake as an artist. He saw someone who exploited people as a businessman. He saw someone whose private world was weird and potentially dangerous. He saw someone who might be hiding dark secrets behind the celebrity shine, and he was right about essentially all of it. That's the part that should make other powerful people nervous, because it proves that 50's instincts about character are sharper than most people's evidence. He knew what Diddy was before there were lawsuits, before there were raids, before there were indictments. He just knew. And he never stopped watching, never stopped building his case, and never stopped waiting for the moment when the world would finally see what he saw 2 decades earlier. That moment has arrived. The federal government sees what 50 saw. The public sees what 50 saw. The history books will record what 50 saw. And 50 Cent is making absolutely sure that nobody ever forgets that he saw it first, saw it clearly, and tried to warn everyone who was too starstruck to listen. So that's the real story behind 50's obsession with Diddy. Not random internet beef or jealous competition, but a 20-year investigation built on instinct, validated by federal indictments, and complicated by personal family destruction. It's the story of someone who trusted his gut when everyone else trusted the image, who stayed away from the parties when everyone else fought for invitations, who built a case when everyone else bought the performance. Whether 50's hatred was justified from the beginning, or whether he just got lucky that his instincts were eventually validated by federal prosecutors, we'll probably debate forever. Some people will say he was a prophet who saw evil when others saw success. Others will say he was just a hater who happened to be right accidentally. But what's undeniable is that he never let it go, never stopped building evidence, and never missed an opportunity to remind people that he was seeing something they weren't. For 20 years, he maintained an energy that most people don't have the spite or commitment to sustain. And knowing what we know now, with Diddy facing multiple lifetimes in federal prison, with victims speaking out about decades of abuse, with the mogul image completely destroyed, should the hip-hop community have listened to 50's warnings earlier instead of dismissing them as petty jealousy? How many people could have been protected if the industry had taken 50's instincts seriously instead of treating them as random hate? How many women might have avoided years of abuse if someone with power had investigated the weird parties and concerning behavior instead of just enjoying the access and prestige? Those are uncomfortable questions that the industry will have to grapple with, because if nothing else, this story proves that sometimes the person everyone calls a hater, the one everyone dismisses as petty or jealous or bitter, is actually the only one telling the truth, while everyone else is too compromised, too seduced, or too scared to speak up. 50 Cent was the hater who turned out to be right, and he's going to make sure that becomes his legacy. Until next time, trust your instincts, watch the people who tell you not to look too closely, and remember that sometimes the longest investigations start with the smallest doubts. The 20-year case is closed, the verdict is in, and 50 Cent is executive producing the documentary.